Hello. In the previous lecture we have added single purchases for both video 1 here and for video 2. We've seen that we've had two individual single purchases, one costing €1 and one costing €1.50. Now for this lesson we are going to add a third video which is not behind a paywall at all, so it's freely accessible. And we are going to be adding subscriptions and time passes to these videos. So that means the outcome of this lesson is going to be that we will have a subscription defined here underneath this single purchase option here for both video 1, 2, and 3. And additionally, just to make things a little bit more interesting, we are going to add a time pass only for video 1 and video 2. So they should have an additional time pass added here. So we should have 3 purchasing options here in total. Whereas video demo 3 at the end of this video will only have the subscription purchasing option. So let us see a bit how we can do this. Remember that before we start by configuring the connector, the subscriptions, all the purchasing option and whatnot, we first have to make sure that on all 3 videos here, including the newly added video 3, we need to have firstly the player script loaded. We also need to have the connector script loaded for an appropriate environment. We have it for sandbox here. And finally, the video needs to be loaded in JW player format as well, so that it can work with connector. This is an example. This is how our source code looks for video demo 2, and you can see here as well that the link to this video is for video demo 2. Of course, this link will be different for each video. Okay, so now that we are sure that we have this embedded on all 3 videos, or that is on all 3 websites which contain these videos, let's jump into our configuration options here. So going back to the connector dashboard, we see that we have defined our 2 single purchases before, surfer video and bunny video, but we additionally have time passes and subscriptions that we will be using in this lesson. Let's start off with the subscription. So if we click on plus here, we are prompted with title and description here. Now, back in single purchases, we had a title of a purchase as well, but we named it just anything here. Let's just go shortly back. So we named it surfer video and bunny video because this is for our internal reference. With subscriptions, this is no longer the case. Title and description will be prompted, will be shown to the end user. So we should probably put something which makes sense to the end user here. So let's put video monthly subscription, for example, and underneath something like subscribe to all our videos for a month. Now we have the match type, and in single options, single purchases, we saw exact path, which we used actually in our first lesson, and the article ID, which we will cover in some of the next lectures. Now the one that we will be using in this lesson is the path prefix match. The path prefix match is interesting because it allows you to basically define all the articles having the same prefix. Now what does this mean? If you remember, the exact path meant that we would need to specify the exact path after the base URL, which is this one in this case. Now we will have to specify the exact path to which this purchasing option will be applied. On the other hand, on the path prefix match, we can specify the prefix which our backend will use to match it to all the videos to which this purchase option will apply. So, if we go back to our videos here, we see that they have one prefix in common, and that is the connector script videos. Okay, so you can see that all of them share the same prefix here. So what we'll do is we're going to copy this prefix and we're going to put it in here. This means that this subscription is going to be applied for all the videos having this prefix, of course. Okay. Now let us specify the validity period of, let's say this is a monthly subscription, and let's say that this costs €4. Pay now is the only option which exists with subscriptions, so subscriptions can actually not be paid later. Okay, we can click on Save now. You can see that the subscription has been added here. And if we now go back to our videos, if we refresh, we're going to see that this monthly subscription has been added here for €4. To all 3 videos, of course. Additionally, this third video was added this purchase overlay, so exactly what we wanted to achieve. So that covers pretty much what I wanted to show you here for subscriptions, but one thing I want to point out is that you can always remove a purchasing option. For example, let's say that you decide to make this video here more interesting to users, or you see that the sales are not going that well because maybe the price is too high or for some other reasons. You can of course modify the price, but you can decide also to remove the single purchasing option. How would you go about that? You would just go back to your connector dashboard here, to your single purchases, and given that this is bunny video, probably, okay, this is video 2, let's just verify this. So yes, video 2, this is video 2 bunny video. What we can do is just delete it. Now going back here, we see that the single purchasing option is not there anymore. Your question is probably, what if somebody does buy it and I delete it later? That doesn't matter. This just, their access to the video will still be enabled. What we deleted here is just the option of new users purchasing this single purchasing option. Okay, this was a little detour from our mission here, and our mission was to firstly create subscriptions, but then also to create time passes. And as mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, to make things a little bit more interesting, we're not going to be defining time passes for all 3 videos, but we are actually going to define one 4-hour access time pass only to videos 1 and 2. Now let me show you how you can do this. If we go back to our LaterPay Connector here, and if we go to time passes, we click on adding a new one, plus. Again, here we have the title and description, which we need to put something that makes sense, of course, because this is the part which will be visible to the end user. So let's put the title something like 4 hours access to videos 1 and 2, and let's say description is access our videos 1 and 2 for 4 hours. Now here we come again to our match type, and you might be tempted to go to path prefix match here, right? Why? Because of course you could just put this thing here, and if you would put it in here, then this time pass would be applied to all 3 videos. But that's exactly what we want to avoid. We want to provide 4 hours access to videos 1 and 2. So there are 2 routes to take. The first route is the article ID. We still haven't covered article ID in our lectures, so we will do this in some of the later lectures. Let's go the other direction, and that is the exact path. The exact path gives us the possibility of adding an arbitrary number of paths here, just like something you have seen in our first video lecture where we were sending bundles of single purchases. This works pretty much in the same way, just that this of course gives us a time pass instead of a single purchase. So effectively, of course, we will achieve what we want to have, and that is a 4-hour access to videos, whichever videos we specify in here. Let me just show you what I mean by that. So you need to take the exact path of this video, copy it, put it in here, and then click on Add Path. Now, of course, here you would put the path of the other video which you want to include in the time pass. Let's just include video 2 or the bunny video in here. And let's set the validity period to 4 hours. And let's set the price to, for example, 50 cents. Here, unlike in subscriptions, we do have the pay later or pay now option. Let's just say pay later for the time being. Okay, now we can save this. And we see now that this time pass has been added. Now, if we would go back to our videos, to video 1, 2, and 3, we see that the time pass has indeed been added underneath the single purchasing option here. Exactly as we wanted to have it. And of course, video 3 does not have the time pass, so we exactly excluded it from the subset. Okay, so that looks good. So we can move now on to showing you how it looks like if we purchase this time access. So by clicking on time access either with video 2 or video 1, it doesn't really matter because it's the same purchasing option. Let's just go with 2. And clicking on buy now, pay later gives us the possibility to view this video. So this gives us the 4-hour time access to view the bunny video. And if we would refresh this video here, we would also get access, of course, to the surfer video. Of course, going back to demo video 3, this video is still locked because this video can only be unlocked if we purchase the subscription. So that's it. Actually, what you learned in this lesson is some of the basic tools that you can use to configure your time passes, subscriptions, and single purchases. Of course, things get a little bit more complicated than that. You can define this in a more time-effective way if you want to define it for a higher number of videos. You can, of course, define some more complex use cases in case of more complex scenarios, and this exactly is going to be the topic of the next videos, which will focus more on some of the use cases and also on other functionalities of Connector for Video.